JC here, and welcome to a Monday, February 19th, 2024 edition of TNI News. Now, I think I have a great show for you guys today, and let's just start off with some news. I don't know if I want to call this news. I guess it's news, right? But, you may recall last week we got the new X-Men 97 trailer, which I thought for the most part was well received by fans. I enjoyed it. I had a few little nitpicks here and there, but again, for the most part, I thought it was pretty well received. But then I started seeing this meme being passed around, featuring Rogue. And I think at first this was being just passed around as a laugh, but then I would see it more and more, and then I would start to read comments, and people generally seem like they were angered by this. I mean, Rogue's bodacious booty that was portrayed in that one scene in the original cartoon, and of course we know that Rogue was portrayed that way in every scene in the original cartoon, right?
Come to mama. Wrong key. Y'all right, hun?
But because in this new clip, it looked like her butt had been, she had butt reduction. This seemed to be angering people. So I was like, I better investigate this as a journalist. If there's this big change happening to the X-Men, I better see what's going on. So, I did some investigation. I took to Google. And then YouTube. And of course, we all know if you want factual information, go to YouTube, right? So I did a search on YouTube, and to my surprise, I saw all these videos pop up. The X-Men are woke. Disney's destroying the X-Men. Disney strikes again. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So of course, I looked into this further, and I learned that they've changed the character Morph. Now, Morph, if you're not familiar, is a shapeshifter. He can basically assume any, form or shape. He can portray men. He can portray women. We saw that in the original cartoon. Remember this scene when he changes into Jubilee?
Was this girl kidnapped by mutants? Film at 11.
Mall violence. Film at 11.
Now, of course, they don't show us, but I'm assuming when he changes into a female, the plumbing down below, it changes too, right? So, God. But now, instead of calling him a male, even though, I guess we just kind of assumed he was a male, right? Because, they portrayed him in a male body a lot of times. But, being he can change into whatever he wants to, do we really know? Maybe he was born a female, right? How do we know he wasn't a female who decided he wanted to be a man? But we made the assumption back in the 90s, when we first saw this character, that he was a male character. But now, oh my God, they're making him non-binary. A person who can literally change into anything, male, female, animals. He might not actually be a man. I'm sorry. Because I guess why I'm laughing is there are people who are actually upset by this. Now, of course, this is because we've politicized all this, non-gender, non-binary people who want to be referred to as they as opposed to he or she, and once again, we associate this, thanks to politics, that anything like this is woke. I mean, next thing you're going to tell me is Star Trek is woke.
Are these gentlemen the Binars?
They're not gentlemen or ladies, Commander. They're a unified pair.
And I am gender neuter.
You had a good student.
He. Commander, there are no he's or she's in a species without gender.
Now here's the thing. So I did some further digging on this, right? Because, oh my God, they're making the X-Men woke. Would you believe that the X-Men have been woke since their creation? I know, hard to believe, right? The X-Men have been woke since their creation. But if you don't believe me, then look at this quote from Stan the Man Lee back in 2000 when he was asked about the X-Men. I love that idea, Lee told The Guardian. As the first X-Men movie hit theaters, it's not only made them different, but it was a good metaphor for what was happening with civil rights movement in the country at that time. Here's a quote from Stan Lee in one of his soapboxes back in the 60s. So again, I quote, "Let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. It's totally irrational and insane to condemn an entire race, to despise an entire nation, to vilify an entire religion. Sooner or later, we must learn to judge each other on our own merits. Sooner or later, if a man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance." So there you go. Back in the 60s, the X-Men were woke. So this isn't actually something new. I mean, how did we miss this, right? But apparently, again, if you go to YouTube and you do a Google search on all of this, you'll see how much this has outraged people. And, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me to see this kind of thing because, A, we've politicized this kind of thing. Here's another big breaking piece of news. TV shows have been woke since almost the dawn of television. You can go back and look at shows from the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, and they are filled with social commentary on things that are trying to normalize things like Black people having equal rights, gay people, lesbians, non-binary people. A lot of that gets normalized through television. The only difference between all of that is when people got upset about it, and let's again take Star Trek when like Kirk kissed a Black woman on television, on network television, there was hate mail that those actors in the studio got for that. But because it wasn't being broadcast with a megaphone on social media, people, most people didn't even know until later on we got documentaries and stuff. Again, this is nothing new. And the fact that a character who is a shapeshifter, who can assume any form they want, is being listed as non-binary, that's not even like a big leap. It is just what the character is. You made an assumption that he was a man because that's how he was first portrayed in the cartoon. That doesn't mean he is a man. It just means you assumed that he was. So if you got anything to be mad at, look at yourself. Now, I can understand, to be fair, I can understand why some people can get confused because all of these companies are not above, trying to use sex appeal to boost sales. While Marvel has done a lot over the years to try and promote positive social change, this is the same company that also gave us this and this. So, Marvel certainly over the years has not been above using things like sex appeal to try and boost their comic book sales. Even like Star Trek, wasn't above using sex appeal to try and increase its ratings. Remember this scene from Enterprise?
You remember Starfleet.
My Vulcan rank supersedes yours.
Apples and oranges. This is an Earth vessel. You're in no position to take command.
So I can understand the confusions that some people have. And while I do think some people take, fawning over cartoon character's butt a little too far. I grew up in the 90s. I own that issue of that Marvel Sports Illustrated. I'm a bona fide heterosexual. I certainly, a nice bust and bodacious butt are not above grabbing my attention. So I get it. But if you're getting angry over this stuff, if you're getting angry because women aren't being as objectified as they once were, if you're getting angry because you see a TV show feature a lesbian couple kissing, or somebody who's choosing to use the term non-binary, if you don't want to be referred to as non-binary, if you don't want to have to refer to yourself as a he or she, I get it. I totally get it. But let's cut out the crap. Let's quit getting angry over stupid stuff like that. And you know what? If you need your half-naked X-Men fix, there is definitely entertainment properties out there for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Now, I'm sure I probably pissed some people off with that last segment, and you know what? That's okay. I don't expect people to like everything I say here, and I may even end up ruffling some feathers, but it was something on my mind, and not only for the obvious reasons of, trying to preach tolerance to everybody, but I feel like collectors sometimes are just their own worst enemy. I mean, I see people out there just looking to hate this new X-Men 97 series for no real reason. People who love the original series, but now they're like just looking to find some reason to hate this, and they're working themselves up into this frenzy. So I have no idea whether this new X-Men 97 series will be any good, whether it will be as good as the original series, but my main thing I want to state here is give it a chance. Wait until it actually comes out and then make up your mind. If there are legitimate reasons to hate on the series, and no, I don't think making a slight alteration to a character, like having him be non-binary, a shapeshifter non-binary, I don't think that's a major change. But I'm not, again, it's possible this new series could end up sucking, but let's wait until the series actually comes out and then make that determination.
Jeez, Bob, keep buzzing in my ear.
That's, if you want to take anything away from that last segment, that's really it. So, this is a toy news channel, so let's get back into the action figures, and let's switch gears to some McFarlane toy news. And we got this weekend an image that popped up thanks to Tamashii Boy, who apparently found the new Platinum Edition Dark Knight Catwoman figure. So I've talked about this figure before. Todd had kind of previewed it, not very well, but kind of had previewed this figure, based on the Anne Hathaway version of Catwoman from the Dark Knight Rises movie, and apparently this figure has started to show up at Target stores. Now, the mystery here is, again, being a Platinum Edition figure essentially means it's a variant, and usually the way that works is these Platinum figures are packed in with the regular figure. But at this time, the only other Catwoman figure that we know is definitely coming is the one that is packed in with that Batpod vehicle that is being sold exclusively on the McFarlane Toy Store website. So This seems to be maybe a deviation of how we generally see these Platinum Edition figures released. I don't know if this Catwoman was packed in with a case of other maybe Dark Knight figures, like the other recent Dark Knight figures that we've gotten. If it's like a refresh case, I don't know if these Platinum figures are being sent out in solid cases, which would kind of defeat the whole Platinum Edition thing, which again is especially is basically supposed to be a chase type variant that McFarlane likes to do. You know, taking a page from the old comic book days when you would get these, you know, variant comic covers that was saw very limited releases. So I don't know at this point. Originally, the overseas retailer listings I had seen for this figure did not have it listed as a gold label or as a platinum figure. But, you know, again, being that they're, you know, if Target had gotten a case of regular single release Catwoman figures, and then this was just the Chase variant packed in with that case, I would think that we would be seeing images of the non-platinum edition single release Catwoman by now. And so far, we haven't. So Todd has not really given a lot of official details on this figure. But again, all I can tell you right now is this Platinum Edition figure has started to show up at Target stores. And if we get any more details on this figure, I will be sure to let you guys know. Now, speaking of Platinum Edition figures, we also had images of a second one popping up. This appears to be a variant of the Skydive Batman figure from the Dark Knight movie that went up for pre-order, like I think it was last month. And that one is still available for pre-order. You can get it at places like our sponsors, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Amazon. Now, with this version of the figure, it is actually very different looking. It has the mask. The regular version, it was unmasked, you may recall. And honestly, I didn't think had a very good likeness for actor Christian Bale. But with this one, you get the mask. So I actually think this one looks better. You also get a cape, which appears to be a soft goods cape with wiring in it so that you can pose it in gliding type poses, which was something missing on the regular Skydive figure. What you don't get with this one are all the other accessories that were included with that figure. The sticky bomb, the gun, things like that don't appear to be included with this version. So if you want all those accessories, you'll need to get the regular version. But if you want a masked Batman figure with a cape that you can make look like is gliding in the air, then you'll want to try and get your hands on this Platinum Edition figure. Now, these images come via Daniel Rodriguez, and I believe this one might be showing up at Target stores as well, but I won't say that definitively. But again, that Skydive Batman figure looks like is getting the Platinum treatment. I think we all kind of assumed it probably would with the mask, but it's definitely interesting that they gave us the cape as well, but none of the other accessories. But if this becomes available online in some way, and sometimes Big Bad Toy Store will sell these Platinum Edition figures at a little bit extra cost, but if you don't want to have to try and hunt for it or hope you get one if you order it online or whatever with the regular figure, then that's sometimes the better route to go. But again, if I get any more details on that, I'll be sure to let you guys know. For you Dragon Ball Z fans, we've got a new SH Figuarts figure coming from Tamashii Nations. This one is based on the King Cold character, so it is a little bit larger size figure. I believe we've seen this on display at some of the conventions. But this figure is supposed to be going up for pre-order starting on February 22nd, at which point we'll be getting more detailed images and information on this one. So be sure to check back later this week for details, which I'll have probably on Wednesday or Friday's show. For you Transformer fans, we've got a look at 3 new MDLX G1 colored Transformer figures coming from Threezero. Now, it's not clear whether these are going to be offered here in the United States through any online e-tailers. According to Threezero, these figures will be limited, about 100 pieces each, and they're supposed to be offered at a special overseas event. So again, I don't know if these will be offered here in the United States. Often places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth do carry these types of figures, but being these are very limited, I don't know if we'll get an opportunity to get these. But again, these are the MDLX Transformer figures with G1 colors. The 3 figures that they're doing are Megatron, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee. They do not transform. They're about 5 to 6 inches tall, and they're said to have somewhere around 36 points of articulation. So if I find anything more out, like whether these will be offered at any US-based e-tailers, I will be sure to let you guys know. The overseas company Blitzway is showing off a new Voltron figure, a Carbotix black Voltron figure. Now, while I do think this is basically just a repaint, it is said to come with a special accessory, the Blazing Sword effect part, allowing for dynamic showdowns with the original color version. So I am not super familiar with Voltron. I never really watched it as a kid, so I don't know. Is this like an evil Voltron? But anyway, this is said to be limited to 1,000 pieces worldwide. I assume places like Big Bad Toy Store, which usually carries Blitzway products, will be offering this. But of course, it has not yet gone up for pre-order, and I don't have any kind of pricing information on this one. So, of course, when more details become available, as always, I'll let you guys know. The Four Horsemen this weekend continue to reveal the figures in their 2024 Retailer Appreciation Wave. So I told you about 2 of these figures last week, the Monkey King figure and the Mask of Red Death figure. So those were the first 2 figures to be revealed for, again, this 2024 Retailer Appreciation Wave. But since then, we've got to look at the Haunted Blue Ghost of Jacob Marley figure. So this is a repaint of last year's holiday figure. And, definitely this looks pretty good. I want to say this actually looks better than the first version. So I feel like they kind of did that last year with the Headless Horseman figure and horse, where the retailer version looked better. But I guess I'll let you decide that. But that is another figure that will be in this line. Also, the Mythic Legions, the Undead of Vikenfell is coming. So a skeleton type figure. Now, the final figure in this Retailer Appreciation Wave that was just revealed this morning is part of the Cosmic Legion line. And I don't know if it's pronounced Fisher Rice. It sounds kind of funny. Maybe a play on Fisher Price. I don't know. But if I mispronounce that, I do apologize. But again, this is the final figure in this appreciation wave, which means that this wave will not be offered directly on the Four Horsemen website. You will have to go to select retailers, authorized retailers of the Four Horsemen, which of course does include our sponsor, Big Bad Toy Store. And as I've mentioned before, this Retailer Appreciation Wave will be going up for pre-order starting on March 1st. Now, switching gears, this video that was put up by the Four Horsemen this weekend was brought to my attention. It's in regards to breakage of Four Horsemen figures. In particular, I guess there's been complaints with their Poxus wave, which I think is just starting to hit or being shipped out to people. I don't even think the full wave has been released yet. But, and I don't have a lot of personal experience with Four Horsemen figures, but everything I've heard, the Four Horsemen figures are very similar to like NECA figures. And if you're not familiar with NECA figures, NECA tends to use a type of plastic that, best way to describe, can be brittle. So if the joints are stiff at all or anything like that, and you try and force the movement of the figure, the joints will often easily break, or accessories will easily break, things like that. Now, in a perfect world, I would tell you that should not be acceptable from any company, big or small, especially when you look at the prices of these figures. And I could certainly tell you that, but we don't live in a perfect world. And I think it's just gotten to a point where most collectors who are familiar, collect a lot of NECA figures, they realize this, that you probably want to have a hairdryer handy when you open a NECA figure. And I'm assuming it's the same for many of the Four Horsemen figures. Because again, when you actually have to put a video up talking about the breakage of your figures, I feel like even though they tried to downplay that, I feel like, maybe there's a problem here. And I think it is the type of plastic that these smaller companies use, which I'm not an expert in manufacturing, but I'm going to assume that it is a cheaper plastic. That's not to say when you look at like a Hasbro Marvel Legend figure, there aren't issues there. I've talked about how, like, especially with female Marvel Legend figures where you have those really tiny knee joints and the figure ends up not even being able to support the weight, the weight of the figure because they're so rubbery. So, every company has their issues, but like with a Marvel Legend or even like a McFarlane figure, generally, I'm not saying never, but generally when you take it out of the packaging, even if the joints are a little stiff, you don't have to worry about them just like snapping off in your hand. But that's definitely not the case with a lot of smaller companies. So I think that is a cost-saving measure. And likely if they were to go to a better quality plastic, that would make the figures even more expensive. And with smaller companies, generally the figures are already pretty expensive because they're doing small production runs, which cost more at the factory, all that jazz. So, I don't know what to really tell you here. Like I say, in a perfect world, I would say, if you have to take a blow dryer and loosen up every joint on the figure so it doesn't break, that seems kind of ridiculous. But there is just a certain level of reality here that with many of these companies, these small companies doing action figures, that's just what you have to do. Now, as far as this Proxus Wave, however you pronounce it, I don't know if the breakage is even more than normal or what, which is what maybe motivated them. And it's even, apparently they did a video the day before that they had to take down because I guess a lot of people perceived it as the Four Horsemen were making fun of people complaining about the breakage, which I don't think is probably what they were doing, but I didn't see the original video that they put up, so I can't really comment, but I've seen some people suggest that it seemed like they were kind of making fun, which they even kind of addressed that in this new video.
Yesterday, we did a video about some of the stuff that's been going on with the Proxus Wave. It was a very informative video about action figure production, action figure breakage, why it happens, how to prevent it, lots of really good stuff. It is a serious topic. Some people have gotten these figures, and while it's a incredibly small percentage of people that have experienced breaks with the Proxus Wave, look, it sucks when you get a figure that you've waited this long for and it breaks. So the video yesterday, look, when we do this afternoon show, there are characters. Grumpy George, Manic Chris, they're fun characters that are, something that we enjoy doing. Unfortunately, yesterday, those characters came across as if they were being unsympathetic, as if they were being aggressive. Definitely not how it was intended. That's why we removed yesterday's video.
Which I will put a link in the video description below if you want to check out the entire thing. It's an hour-long video. But I guess what I would tell you is, especially when dealing with smaller companies and their action figures, if it's something you like, just handle them like a fine piece of china. They're not meant to really be played with per se. And I will tell you again, I don't have a lot of experience with Four Horsemen, but definitely with a NECA figure, whenever I get one, I'm very hesitant to want to try and really pose it around and stuff. I find a pose I like and then I stick it on the shelf and then I kind of just leave it there. So, whether that's something, that is enough to make you not wanting to buy the figure, I think that's a perfectly realistic opinion to have. And a decision to make, but I also think that again, it's just kind of part of action figures these days, and I don't see it really changing. So no matter how much you complain, even if people quit buying like the Four Horsemen figures, definitely that would hurt the Four Horsemen. Definitely, it could even maybe put them out of business. But would they be able to upgrade to better quality plastic? Probably not, because that would probably make the figure so expensive that people wouldn't buy it anyway. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I'd love to hear your own thoughts about this down in the comments section below. Now, don't forget, tomorrow, the 20th, is going to be the Hasbro Marvel Legend live stream on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're not able to catch that, you can be sure to check out all the latest news and reveals on Marvelous News. I will be back on Wednesday, for a new news video where we'll be talking about everything that was revealed during the live stream. And don't forget that pre-orders will be happening on the 22nd, which I know will be at least a comic book wave all comic based Build-A-Figure wave that'll be going up. There might be some store exclusives or what have you. I'm not sure, but definitely there will be at least one full comic book based wave with a Build-A-Figure that will be going up, which of course will be one of the things that they reveal during tomorrow's live stream. So be sure to check all of that out. As always, guys, stay safe out there. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to toynewseye.com, marvelousnews.com, JediInsider.com, and tformers.com. And remember, action figures are great,